आंखों के सामने बहुत जमीन और मेरा खुद का घर भी चला गया कुमिरमारी आइलैंड में। तो अभी इसके लिए हम लोग जिम्मेदारी नहीं है। तो मेरा ये प्रेयर है पूरा दुनिया का सामने, जो आप लोगों का जो पोल्यूशन का कारण से हम लोगों का जमीन, घर और हम लोगों का सब कुछ नदी का अंदर।
Sanjay Mondal has hit the nail on the head. They are suffering loss and damage due to climate change, the cause of which have been carbon dioxide emissions in developed rich nations. At the major climate summit, their leaders are under pressure to cough up money for this loss and damage to help developing and poor nations cope with global warming. Erosion is one of the primary reasons for loss and damage in the Sunderbans. Now, this embankment that I'm standing on has been built to protect agricultural land. This side is the river, which is saline water, and this embankment was actually almost up till those trees that you can see in these pictures. But the river has eaten up that land. As a result, this embankment has shifted here, and the agricultural land that was still there has now moved right behind here. Home to 7.2 million people, this 10,000 square kilometer delta of mangrove forests could be the first casualty of irresponsible, carbon-reckless economies and lifestyles. 64-year-old Prashanto Bishwas has lived all his life in the Sunderbans, and in his lifetime he has seen his agricultural land shrink as the river has continued to swallow up land.
চাষের জমি আমার এখান থেকে ছিল ধরুন আরো প্রায় 1-1.5 ফিট ছিল, আর এখন বর্তমানে সরে সরে গেছে, গিয়ে জমি এখন কমে যাচ্ছে। নদী তখন আরো ছোট ছিল, এখন পরপর সেটা বেড়ে অনেক বড় হয়ে গেছে।
This is the story across the Sunderbans, an ecologically sensitive delta where the landmass undergoes change due to erosion and sediment deposits by rivers. But the problem is especially acute in the Indian part of Sunderbans, where sediment deposits have seen a sharp drop due to man-made changes in the rivers upstream. Home to some of the poorest and most vulnerable communities, subsistence farming is their only means of survival. But as they deal with multiple problems of rising sea levels, erosion, increasing salinity of water and loss of habitat and livelihood, add to that the increased occurrence of devastating effects of extreme weather events like cyclones. But the world's polluters simply don't seem to care enough, even though projections suggest that an estimated 15 lakh people will have to be relocated. Historically, the developed countries have polluted the atmosphere the most on the way to super-rich economies. Even now, the per capita emissions, for example, Americans is 8 times more than Indians. In fact, per capita emissions of greenhouse gases at 1.9 tons a year is even lower than the global average of 4.7.
অনেক সময় আমাদের নদী বাঁধ ভেঙে আমাদের এলাকায় জল ঢুকে প্লাবিত হয়ে যাচ্ছে। সেই নোনা জলের কারণে আমরা ফসলেরও অনেক বিঘ্ন ঘটছে। নদী বাঁধ পরস্পর ভেঙে 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 আমাদের জমি নদীগর্ভে চলে যাচ্ছে। তখন আমাদের এমনই মনে হয় যে এই দেশ ছেড়ে হয়তো আমাদের একদিন পালিয়ে যেতে হবে।
In 2016, the land area in the Sunderbans had shrunk by 210 square kilometers since 1967. The area has lost 12% of its shoreline in the last 40 years, and coastlines are moving inwards by as high as 40 centimeters every year in some areas. Some of these islands will completely disappear within the next 50 to 100 years, and some have already disappeared. Experts say adaptation is simply not enough, and the need for climate finance is immediate, with an urgent redefining of the Sunderbans.
The climate finance context is really critical in terms of Sundarban. If we want to finance properly and effective financing then we need to first redefine Sundarban and then come out with the financing opportunities and necessities in accordance to that.
The Sunderbans has near zero contribution to global emissions, but the area will pay the highest price for unchecked environmental degradation as a result of climate change. Homes, livelihoods, habitats, everything will be lost. But do the world's biggest polluters care for these unique islands and this delta system? Who will foot the bill for the damage caused by climate change? With camera person GD Shankar, in the Sunderbans, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.